Welcome to On Second Thought, on issues the network media is usually too afraid to tackle. I'm Pamela Wistrom, tonight's co-host, and boy, are we in for a beyond amazing show. So everybody out in the audience and at home, comfy cozy, get a snack, and get ready for tonight's show. And now, for the host and star of this 14-year-long weekly TV show, the one and only William J. Wagner. Woo! William!
Thank you.
Welcome, William.
Thank you, Pamela. It's good to have you back. We're taking off our white hats for you people because you're the people that will save this country. We all know about Rancher Bundy standing up out near Mesquite, Nevada against the federales, the federal hired contract cowboys that rustled and stole their cattle. But we're not going to talk about that much tonight. I've also told you and labored, and Pam was here, right? We talked about LBJ.
Yes.
The true mastermind, but he really wasn't the top mastermind of the JFK assassination. But we're not going to talk about that. Every day, I mean, just yesterday, we had chemtrails overhead. They were just spraying them. Now, they don't call them chemtrails. And if you ask your city councilman, your people in office and said, do you know about the chemtrails? What are they spraying? They're like, oh, that's just condensation tails. No, they're not. But while they're poisoning us with aluminum and poisoning us, and you're going to say, well, even if that's true, Mr. Wagner, what can I do about it? Well, tonight you want to pay attention, because there's something you can do about it. I just came from Santa Barbara, where a most interesting, this just came up last night. I had no advance warning, could not get a media request 5 days in advance, but I showed up in Judge Clifford Anderson's courthouse, unannounced, ready to tape. I didn't even have a media request. I wasn't even sure I wanted to tape, but I was told if I came, I would see a Santa Barbara deputy sheriff caught in his lie, in perjury, right there, during a trial, where a young man from Isla Vista, you know where they do all those crazy parties every year? I always avoid that stuff. It's too crazy. I don't like a lot of drunk people staggering around me. He got arrested down in that area, Isla Vista. He's a student, and I talked to him a little bit, and he's about to become a school teacher. But he got busted and thrown to the ground, according to the deputy sheriff, whose name is Miles Davies. He was resisting arrest, and he was impeding an investigation of who was playing noise too loud at a frat house or something like that. So anyway, he's on trial, and they are just hunkering down to put him down. So here's what the issue was. I don't have it on tape because I didn't have a media request in, but we can get the court record. And I was there as a witness in case they adulterate the court record, which sometimes happens. Wink, wink, we know about that. But what went down is this very good-looking, very handsome, you'd like him, Pamela, you'd like this, he's a very handsome dude, Deputy Miles, M-Y-L-E-S, I think, Davies, D-A-V-I-E-S. He's on the stand, and he's asked a question. Have you ever been sued? You know, in relation to your work as a deputy sheriff? And he says, no. Then he says, the defending attorney, he was a public defender, and you know how I feel about public defender pretenders. I have about, I have about this much confidence in public defenders. But this guy somehow did some background research and found out Miles Davis had been sued in federal court by a young lady named Angelina Diamante. I don't know these people very well, so I'm not even going to try to get the names exactly right. But he said, yes. Miles Davis, the deputy sheriff, leaned forward. This is one of Bill Brown's deputies. Leans forward and says, yes. Wow. I arrested her 3 years ago. And the whole arrest happened to do with something about playing her music in her car radio too loud, or leaving children unattended in the car, which she says she was never more than like 5 feet from the car. She didn't leave them unattended. And yet she claims The same deputy that threw this young man from Isla Vista down on the ground last year, and now they're trying to convict him of misdemeanor interference with a deputy in the performance of his duties. He threw that guy on the ground to, put the handcuffs on. He was resisting and yelling for help. The same deputy, 3 years earlier, threw this Angelina, and she's almost as cute as you, Pam.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
I just had to say that. I hope Angelina, I don't know Angelina that well, so she'll have to forgive me.
Thank you.
She's almost as cute as you. But she's not a blonde, and that's where you got her going. Anyway, here's Angelina. She's down there, and she's there to testify. Now, they don't want the jury to hear this testimony yet because the prosecutors, under Joyce Dudley, the current reigning district attorney of Santa Barbara, had not disclosed on a form, apparently, that the defense attorney, this public defender, had requested this information, okay? And they didn't disclose it. But he kept searching. And he comes up just last night, subpoenas this gal, and then gets the record of her case just this morning. And he asked Miles Davis, does the name, Angelina Diamante, did you know that? Oh, he leans forward, yeah, I arrested her 3 years ago. And he remembers the arrest. But when he's asked just a few minutes earlier, have you ever been sued? He said, no, never been sued. And here's this gal, and she's down there to testify. They didn't let the jury, they had a separate hearing to determine whether it was a real lawsuit. And she's there, and she's wanting to give her information, and Judge Clifford just won't let her give the information. Say, here, it's a real lawsuit, it's a federal. And yeah, they tried to dismiss it, and they didn't win, and we're on the record, and the lawsuit's ongoing. That means Miles Davies either is so silly, he doesn't know that when you're sued with papers, you've been sued. Whether you acknowledge it or not, you're sued. Win, lose, or draw, you're sued. Which means he's either not very clever or he's trying to wiggle out. Well, I chased him down the street, trying to get an interview with him. He was long-legged and 6'4", and he made a beeline for his car at the lunch break. So this just went down, and it looks to me like he was caught on the record, and this is what happened. The judge was like, sidebar. So he gets the attorney's office. They spent, I caught in the morning session, I counted 10 minutes, 10, 11, 12 minutes of testimony on the record in front of the jury where he gets caught in perjury, and 20 to 4 minutes in sidebars, trying to figure out how are we going to fix this now. We just made our deputy a liar in front of the jury, which goes to his credibility, and that's why the issue is relevant. Do you get that, Pam?
Yes, I'm beyond baffled. And you know what? You said I would think he was attractive. Yeah. Since he lied, I don't think he's been attractive.
Well, you haven't seen him. He's a good-looking dude.
Honesty is attractive.
Honesty is attractive.
Yes.
I'm for honesty. Anyway, he's caught, and now he has to wiggle out of the fact he just said he'd never been sued. So they bring him back later, right at the end of the day. And Judge Anderson didn't know what to do from 1:30 when we all came back, including the jury, till about 3 o'clock. 3 hours. Most of that, he's in sidebar, in chambers, with both attorneys, trying to figure out how can we not let this testimony of Angelina go forward. We don't want her testimony here because we don't want to prove our deputy lied. And if she testifies, that destroys the prosecutor's case. Joyce Dudley, why do you bring cases like this? Hello? Joyce Dudley, I'd like some answers. I think we, the people, deserve some answers. This is how it went down. They take up a lunch break. I asked to do an interview. Okay, there you see, that's the defense attorney and his young client there walking away. They didn't want to do an interview. Mr. Jane, can I get an interview with you?
I'm sorry, not right now.
That's the prosecutor and his supervisor. That was interesting. Not only did the prosecutor, but his supervisor showed up to help him. She wasn't there. We're down here. It's Friday, first Friday of May 2014. William Wagner at the courthouse outside the Santa Barbara courthouse at the next What just happened in the case of Mr. Lauren is that the cop that wants him convicted of 2 misdemeanors was just caught denying that he had ever been sued before. In fact, the defense attorney, Mr. Logan, then presented evidence that, in fact, he had just lied. That's perjury by a Santa Barbara police officer, a member of the sheriff's department, a man by the name of Miles Davies. And we put in a media request. We'll see how that goes. But it would appear Mr. Davies is in a spot himself, because if they produce the evidence that in fact he had been sued, and he denied that and said on camera, or on the court record, not on camera, that he had never been sued except for not mowing his lawn, this deputy could be in trouble right during the election when Sheriff Bill Brown has a competition for re-election by Sandra Brown. It's getting more interesting. Just got to pay attention to the details. We'll put in our media request and we'll see how that goes. Now here I try to get Mr. Davies coming out of the courthouse, but he jumps over a wall in flower planter, and that's the back of him, walking away. I tried to catch up to him as he went down the Garden Street, and I just couldn't catch up. This guy is really long-legged, healthy, good-looking deputy, except he just got caught saying he never got sued, and now he's got to backtrack. I tried to catch up to him, but he was too far ahead. That's the Santa Barbara courthouse right there. Beautiful courthouse, so it's interesting. The annex you have to go through security, but in the main courthouse you don't. Later on in the afternoon, this is the scene. And we try to catch up to him when he left later, move his car. And we'll give you that scene where I actually do get some words out of Officer Davies' mouth. But I had to have a friend jump in a car and with the camera rolling, go down there. We'll be back to that. Now what happens is they come back and Mr. Davies is asked again, have you ever been sued with your duties? And he had said no. Problem is there's this Angela Diamante, I think she's from the Lompoc area, and she had filed a lawsuit and refiled it, amended it, I think. Federal lawsuit. So what happens is they come back into court, and now they ask him, have you ever been sued off duty? He said, yeah, I was sued in front of the jury. Yeah, I was sued for not mowing my grass. Well, you know, the jury's going to say, okay, big deal. You got sued for not mowing your grass. You know. All right, so this kind of dampens down the perjury he just got caught in. And I would like to get him in the studio and ask Mr. Davies, explain this away, how you can remember that you arrested her and threw her to the ground, but you don't remember that she sued you for excessive force. I don't get that. Well, he did answer the question eventually. He said, yeah, I talked to county council, and they said they'd take care of it, and it was all done with. Well, even if it was done with, you still were sued. So it's still a lie on the court record when he said he'd never been sued. Don't you think, Pamela?
It is, and what I don't understand is what's going to happen. Like, don't you think there should be something should happen to him?
Yeah, when you commit felony perjury, something should happen.
Yeah, you can't just like walk. No, you can't just like walk away.
He is walking away. You just saw him walk away. Well, here's what it comes down to now, is Joyce Dudley has a duty to examine this record and prosecute the police officer for lying on the record. Now, what I expected would happen in the afternoon, he'd come back and say, oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, I was sued. And then correct the record. He didn't do that. And he did testify between 4 and 4:30 again. Miss Angela Diamante